I was on site visiting one of my interior design projects in Mumbai. The building was under construction and everything was very basic. For example, there were no safety grills installed yet on the huge windows. The apartment I was designing was on the 6th floor of a high-rise. It was a summer afternoon and the heat was unbearable. I had had a heavy breakfast without much to drink before coming to work. I started working, taking site measurements and so forth. Apparently, I was becoming dehydrated because I started feeling giddy and my eyesight started to dim out and then come back. I told my staff to continue with the job while I moved to an airier space in the living room where I felt slightly better. There was cement all over the floor with its dust was in the air, and there was no place to sit down, as I needed to wear prosthesis on my right lower leg since I was 9 years old. I was not able to stand for very long, especially under these conditions. So I sat down to rest on the sill of an open window. Then everything seemed to go black. When I opened my eyes, people were around me splashing water on me face. I was seated on the slab where a supervisor was holding me arms to support me. I felt myself shaking and trembling. As I looked around, I could not recognize anyone or anything. They were all asking me questions, exclaiming they were so glad I had returned. After a few minutes, I began to recognize the people in the room. They told me I had been unconscious and that my body had been shaking violently for 20 minutes before I had opened my eyes. Here is more about what happened. When I sat down on that 6th floor windowsill, I could sense my eyesight dimming again. When unconsciousness overcame, my body apparently flopped backward out of the window and out of the building. I don't remember any of this, but I began slipping downward. Meanwhile, the owner of the apartment, having gone down to the 5th floor to do some work with an engineer, was, by fortunate chance, standing near the open window only 1 floor below where my body had started its descent. As they both noticed me slipping past, the client reflexively caught hold of my leg, the natural one, and hung on to it while the engineer supported him. I was very frail in those days, only weighing 48 kilograms, about 106 pounds. They held me there by one leg while the rest of my body swayed upside down outside the building. My own staff rushed to help and pulled me back in. Meanwhile, I had slipped straight into another world and into another life. There I was seeing everything as another person, and I don't mean I was looking at another person. I was that person. I mean, it wasn't like watching a videotape, it was real. I was witnessing the world around me, a different world, as a different person. This other me was lying in a 4-poster bed. My body and legs were under the covers, so I could see the rest of me. What I could see were the people who were standing there, my elder brother around 12 years old and my mother. They were both brown-skinned and dark-complexioned. Not the same family I have now. They seemed to belong to the Indian middle class. I vividly remember the ambience of the room. My brother and mom were standing together near my bed and having a conversation. I do not remember the details of that conversation now, because I did not try to remember it by repeating it to myself over and over when I came into this life again, the way I did with the details of some of the other experiences I had as that person. They were both talking with serious faces, although the conversation itself was not about anything serious. I lay on the bed listening to them. I remember thinking of myself as a girl child, bored by their ordinary talk. Neither were paying attention to me, entertaining me, or smiling at me. I closed my eyes and kept them closed for a long time, hearing their conversation but not paying attention to it. When I opened my eyes, I was back at the construction site. I didn't understand what my body was, who I was or where I was, or who the people around me were. All I knew about myself was from that other life. Later, while discussing the events with the supervisor, I was told they had been splashing water on me face and trying to wake me up for a long time. I had not sensed any of this while I was in the other life. I was not connected to this body at all afterwards. I spent long days in disbelief. I began recollecting and correlating things about me current life. In my heart, I always knew that the other life was the real world. It was as real as this one, and it was not a dream. Even though I had seen no white light nor passed through a tunnel nor had a floated above me body, I had nevertheless gone to another reality. I had been transported straight away to the life of a different person. For days after the incident, whenever I recalled that life, this one would seem unreal, and when I tried to convince myself that this life was what I'd lived for 25 years, my soul refused to believe that I had been living the other life. I've never remembered the transition events, not me fall from the 6th floor window, not the 2 Samaritans catching me and saving me from crashing to the ground, not the people carrying me in, nor being splashed with water for a long time. While that was going on, I had transitioned to the other life. The events I experienced there, I remember very well.